Hi everybody, this is Denise with PurplePaperParadise.com, and today I am going to show you Shortcuts a Lot 3. This is the newest version of the software that came out. This version of the software does not work with the Cricut machine, but it works with several other machines, including the eCraft, which is what I'm going to be using today. But you can see here that it supports the Black Hat Cougar and Lynx, the Gazelle, the eCraft, the Silhouette SD, and the Craft Robo Graphtec cutters. So if you have one of these other cutters, you can download Shortcuts a Lot 3. If you already had a version of Shortcuts a Lot 2, Shortcuts a Lot 3 will not erase that old version of Shortcuts a Lot 2. And that is a good thing, especially for me. I do have a Cricut machine, and I do still use it occasionally, so I didn't want to lose my Shortcuts a Lot 2 version. But it's really nice to see that the eCraft and all these other cutters are now getting some of the attention from these third-party softwares, and so many more options that we can do with it. And all of those companies, too, from what I understand, authorize Shortcuts a Lot to include their software. So we should not have an issue where the software is suddenly discontinued for our cutting machines. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put some squares on my mat here, and I'm going to put these at over here on the position size. I've got my XY. I'm going to put it first one here at 2 inches and 2 inches, and also I'm going to make this a you know what, let's make it a 3-inch, and for some reason that didn't take, so okay, and I'm going to go ahead, hide that one, and then just do that with the next one. When we're first working with any new software, one of the best things that you can do is find out your orientation. So that's what I'm going to show you today, is the orientation of the Shortcuts lot as compared to the eCraft machine, and what you're going to see there. And I want to do this more like here. I want to make each one of these squares about 2 inches in on all sides, so that way we can really get a good look at how accurate the paper is cutting compared to our virtual mat. And this will just give us a real good idea here. So now let's take this one down here. Pardon me while I'm putting all this in. I just wanted to show you what I'm doing, so if you start working with another software and you want to do this orientation, this should work on just about any software that you're working with. So alright, so now if I unhide these other squares, you can see we've got all these squares on the mat. We've got a 2-inch border around everything, so that'll give us a real good idea of how accurate the eCraft is cutting based on the virtual mat. So now what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put in some numbers, and I'm just going to do a 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm putting one of them in each one of these boxes. Let me undo that because I don't want it in the same grouping. And I'm not worried about lining these up any particular way or anything. I just want to get an idea of how it's cutting all this out. So now I'm going to go ahead and take this file, and actually I'm going to draw this instead of cut it, so that way I can see these numbers inside these squares here. And so we're going to switch to the other camera so you can see this as it comes out. Okay everybody, I'm back, and I've got that document that we created in SCAL 3 open. And when you go to cut to the eCraft, it gives you two options. The first one is cut/draw, and it will give you 3 options in that menu. One is normal, which means it will cut or draw based on what you have set for each individual thing on your mat, or it will cut all or draw all. So I just selected draw all, and then under paper mode you can select either tray or front. I've loaded a piece of 12 by 12 paper in my tray, so we're going to go ahead and cut from the tray, and here we go. Oh, it might help if I had it hooked up to my computer, wouldn't it? Just a second, there we go. And cuts. And I don't know why my eCraft is making that noise when it pulls from the tray. It's done that ever since it came back from getting its firmware upgrade. And it looks like my pen might be out. Well, you can see a little bit. It looks like my pen is running out, so we might have a little bit of difficulty seeing this. But down here in this bottom corner, it's doing the 3. And there's the square for the 3. And now over here is the 4. So what this tells me now is that what you see on the screen is actually going to come up upside down when you're looking at your machine in this angle. So another way of looking at it is it's going to cut out what you see on the screen if you are looking at your machine from behind. So here you can see this would have been the 1 if my pen was working correctly. Here's our 2, our 3, and our 4. So that's the orientation. That's how it's going to come out of the machine. So that means that if you have something that you want to cut on a piece of scrap or an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, what you want to do is you want to have it put your paper down in this section, which is actually the top of the mat on your screen. So I hope that helps you kind of understand the orientation here. And you know, on first glance, I'm going to say that the margins look pretty good. I don't think that they're exactly 2 inches. And I'll get out my ruler here and we can kind of take a closer look. But it's pretty close. Yeah, here from the top, I don't know if you can see that. It's about 2 3/16 of an inch. Where if you go by your virtual mat, it should be right at 2 inches. So there is a margin here, but it's not as bad as what we were seeing with the beta plugin. So let's see here, and here it's actually a little bit under 2 inches on the side here. So there is some variance in the margins here, but overall it's pretty close compared to what we were looking at before. So maybe the good people at SCAL can fine-tune that a little bit and see if we can get this to work even better for us. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this out again using the front tray, the front mode, just to make sure that we don't have any discrepancy going from tray to front mode. So let's go ahead and load in another piece of paper. And I'm going to try and load this lined up right to that 12-inch mark on the screen. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I always kind of smooth the paper down here real quick before putting it in the rollers. That way it helps it go in nice and straight. And actually that didn't go in too straight, but we'll go with it here. Actually, let's see if we can do that better. It's kind of hard to do this with the camera in my way. Yeah, that didn't quite do either. I'm being spoiled by that vegetable chopping mat because that makes it go in so nice and straight. But we're going to do this, and I'm going to just line this up to the very bottom of the cutting plate, at least on this one side. It's definitely crooked over here, so you're definitely going to see more of that margin variance with the borders and stuff than what we do without it. So here we go from the front, the same exact file. Hopefully my pen will last. And there's our number 1 box. And there's number 3. This orientation actually is the exact same orientation that we saw with the eCraft software. It's one of those things you just kind of have to get used to, especially if you want to use this software, which I've been playing with it a little bit and I'm very impressed with it. I'm a make the cut girl at heart, but you can see the exact same orientation cutting from the front as we saw from the tray. And I do definitely see more of a margin difference on this. Everything is kind of crooked because it fed in crooked. So that's another thing, to use the tray if you can, because the tray will feed it in pretty straight. So that's it for this video, and I will be having some more videos using SCAL 3 here in the near future. So I hope to see you then. Thanks.